Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to my Saturday Hodgepodge, my weekly wrap-up of my reading week, my booktube week, anything else that comes to mind. I wanted to start off today with an apology, and I wanted to apologize to Scott and Nell from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. I made a video on Thursday in which I kind of addressed the issue, or addressed one of the issues that they brought up in their video, essentially about white reviewers reviewing works by people of color or people from the LGBTQ plus community. And I'm going to talk more about that video here in just a minute. But in the comment I left on Scott and Nell's video, and then through implication in the video that I made two mistakes. And these are things which cast their video and what they said in an incorrect light. So I want to make sure I apologize for that. Number one, you know, their video has three people expressing opinions, three individual people expressing opinions, and yet when I addressed what I thought were some problems I had with their video, I treated it as though that these were opinions that Scott and Nell held collectively as the people creating that channel. I didn't separate them as individuals. I didn't separate them from the other person who was a participant in their video, and you know, that's just something that's wrong. You know, I get, and there's no excuse for it there's no excuse for it. It is something I need to work on, and something that I need to be more mindful of, that when there is more than one creator or channel and they talk with other people, that doesn't necessarily mean that they all share the same opinions, even if it's not clearly, even if they don't say, well, I don't agree with that, that doesn't mean they all necessarily agree. So I want to apologize for that, but the bigger issue I wanted to apologize for has to do with the issue they raised in which they talked about how white writers might have to accept that some books weren't written for them, that the authors weren't writing with a white English-speaking audience in mind. And I think I was watching the video with my mind already made up about that issue, and I failed to notice that they were talking about works in translation for the most part. And that does, of course, make a difference. A writer writing in Arabic for a primarily Muslim audience is not writing for English-speaking readers or white readers, and therefore, you know, taking a step back from that and being aware that that's what's taking place, and that's the audience is different than that you are not necessarily the intended audience for that work is really important. That, of course, doesn't mean we shouldn't read works in translation, but I agree that, you know, that means that there needs to be an extra layer, perhaps, of understanding and of thought in terms of reviewing those books. So I want to make sure I apologize to Scott and Nell for that. I am sorry. You know, there's still things in their video I don't agree with, but that's fine. I don't agree with lots of people about lots of things, but I did want to make sure I apologize for that because I was wrong. And then kind of related to that, I just wanted to also just give a big thank you to everybody for the comment sections on my videos that have come out this week. The comments on the video I made about, you know, reading and reviewing diversely as a straight white cisgendered male were just an amazing comment section. I got to have my usual fun bickering and disagreeing with Steve Donahue, my arch nemesis, and that's always fun, and I find that enlightening. But there are just also so many great comments on that video. I was happy to have Hannah from Hannah's Books engage that from her perspective and from her educational background and teaching background, etc., and engage in that discussion. And the thread of comments that began with hers, I think, is extraordinary and outstanding. Also, Melissa from Fully Booked left, I just thought, a brilliantly insightful comment which kind of summed up an area or something I'd overlooked in my video, and I thought that was particularly great. And then Daniel from Guilty Feet also made a comment in which he essentially suggested that it's not really being honest with ourselves we need to be, that we need to approach these works by, as he and I and others as white readers, we need to approach these works from a position of humility, that maybe we don't understand everything. And then Jen from Remembered Reads, always brilliant and insightful and incisive in her comments. Thank you for all those. And what I would say is, I know this is me plugging my video, but let me just say that the comment section for that video far exceeds any content of the video, and it is exactly the kind of thing that I really love our BookTube community for, engaging in that discussion, and I hope we can see more of that, not just on my channel, but elsewhere as well, and that I need to be a better participant in those kind of discussions as well. So thank you all for that. And then also, last Saturday, I just kind of talked about a little short history discussion, which I essentially, probably for not the first time, made the case for why studying history is important. And my case was essentially why it's important to study history in terms of our kind of collective decision making. And lots of people responded with all kinds of other things about history, which were just great, and I enjoyed reading and thinking about and thinking my way through. And so I just kind of want to respond to just a few of those things here today. There were some comments, or one other topic I want to make sure I talk about. I can't remember if this came from a comment or not. This is a discussion that I think related to something that Marc Nash and I have talked about a few times, and that is that one of the things that bothers me about the teaching of history, the discussion of history, is when historians and the teachers of history approach history as though it is a science. When I was teaching, and I taught history classes through a local community college, it was in the Department of Social Sciences. And I don't want to get into the semantics of social sciences, but to me, history is one of the humanities. It is one of the classical studies, and I think attempting to make it like science is one of the problems that we have, that people assume that there is a definitive answer, that there is a way of knowing exactly what happened. And by historians contribute to that by essentially presenting themselves as scientists working in the field of the past. And while it is perfectly acceptable, as a matter of fact, it's incredibly healthy for historians to create new ideas, new theses, and to write about those things, and to try to prove their case and to engage in an active discussion with other historians, to suggest that there is one definitive version, I think is wrong. And I will talk about this again when I get a chance, just a little bit when I get a chance to review Red Comet, the biography of Sylvia Plath that I'm reading. Also, many people brought up something important, and that is that history can be weaponized. And this is something that we assume happens perhaps in countries like North Korea, but not in democracies like the United States or Great Britain or Australia. And that's obviously not true. We see politicians weaponizing versions of history all the time. In part, the reaction against the 1619 projects, which I've talked about here in the United States several times, but reactions against what people can call and kind of label as revisionist history, as though that's a negative thing, are in some ways an attempt to weaponize history, to use history as a political tool to say that's wrong and these people are attacking you, etc. I think one of the ultimate examples of history being weaponized in the United States is the way in which the South kind of weaponized the history of the Civil War to change attitudes and to kind of win the after effect of the war and to define what the war meant in really tragic ways for the Civil Rights Movement, for African Americans, for the United States as a whole. And in that sense, history weaponized, and closely related to that is the idea of history as a way of defining our identity. And again, I think I am one of those people who, in my life, has spent some time understanding my family's history and the history of the places where I came from, my ancestors. I've done genealogical work because I like feeling that sense of identity that comes from that. And I think there's value in that, but we can't become so attached to our ideas of our historical identity that we don't accept the reality. We can't so romanticize our ancestors in this country or wherever. We can't so romanticize the founding fathers that we don't look at the reality of the situation. We can't let that kind of romantic vision of our past, whether in the United States or in Great Britain, as related to the rise in nationalism, which I think led to Brexit there. We can't over-romanticize our past and then feel that we're being attacked when people point out that we're leaving things out and that we're not discussing the flaws and the true evil that was sometimes done by some of our most important figures from the past. And then the last thing I wanted to address related to history is kind of something that I thought of when reading some of the comments, and that is, as a teacher of history, part of what I was doing was essentially creating that exact national identity in my students. And I used to joke with them, that based on the curriculum and what the state and the national government wanted me to teach, that if they grew up to be, communists, then from the point of view of my employers, the state of Texas, the local school district, and then less directly the national government, I would have failed. That I was supposed to, help make sure that they were democracy-loving, Constitution-supporting Americans who would never support dictatorship, etc. And I think we see exactly how twisted that kind of nationalist brainwashing can become, and the ends and the way it can be weaponized. We saw that during the Trump administration to incredibly toxic effects. And I do hope that the way I taught history didn't allow that to take place, but I'm relatively sure that many of my former students firmly supported Trump and the insurrectionists of January the 6th. So I want to make sure I address those things because and I'll say it again, just thank you so much for those great comments and for the discussions that have been going on in my comments section since last Saturday. My wife wound the clock, so both of our clocks are chiming at the same time. Only not exactly at the same time, so there's more of a cacophony of ringing. But anyway, I just want to again say thank you for that. And then just kind of real quickly get to my weekly reading. I am still working, Sean and I are still working our way through the collected stories of Eudora Welty as a buddy read. I am, Patrice Jones and I have been reading, when I was a child I read books, a collection of essays by Marilynn Robinson, which we have found to be challenging, and I will tell you in some ways I found to be disappointing. We're about 2 essays from the end and hoping to finish up by this week. And then I'm also reading for the BookTube Prize, Red Comet, The Short Life and Blazing Art of Sylvia Plath by Heather Clark, the new kind of colossal, huge, mammoth-sized biography of Sylvia Plath that has drawn rave reviews. That is a book I'm reading for the BookTube Prize, so I can't really discuss or review it here. I did get in a little bit of a panic. Robert from Barter Hordes, who runs and organizes the BookTube Prize and gets the judges to go and let us know that we need to have our ballots in by March the 28th, which is 3 days sooner than I had planned for, and I panicked that my pace wasn't fast enough, but I checked. And because I got ahead a little bit, I should be able to finish the book in plenty of time to submit my ballot. So that was good. And then also, I might have mentioned to you that I had ordered another Maigret mystery by George Simenon, another Maigret mystery, and was waiting for it to arrive. It came 2 days ago, and I read it. These are all novella-length books. This one's 137 pages. This is the third one I've read, and I think this is by far the best one of the Maigret mysteries that I've read. And Simenon is an incredible writer. The translator for this one, and I don't know if she translates the whole series. The translator for this one was Linda Coverdale, and I don't have any way of knowing how much she's helping Simenon's prose, but it's just sparkling and I think really good. And the mysteries and the stories are compelling, and they're deeper than they might seem on the surface, perhaps, as most mystery novels I think are. And it's a nice little, I was thinking of an amuse-bouche, that little delightful mouthful of food that you get, really kind of gets your palate going, and it's just brilliantly executed. That's what I feel about the Simenon, and I just finished that today. And so that was great. And I'm hoping still to get to Nightwood as my March of the Moderns novel. So I read Comets, my March of the Mammoths. I read a Samuel Beckett novel for my Irish read-along month. Now the Simenon for March Mystery Madness. And I'm hoping to get in, well, the March of the Moderns would be Nightwood if I can fit that one in. And then also, I forgot for Women's History Month, I forgot to bring the book out. I am reading also Cleopatra, the biography of Cleopatra by Stacy Schiff. That reading has been somewhat stalled. Reading two biographies simultaneously is stretching, it's kind of taxing my ability to concentrate. The energy I put into one seems to take away from the energy of the other, but that would also be my Women's History Month reading. So I'm doing my best to at least dip my toe into many, not all, because I'm not doing all of them, into many of the read-alongs and themed reading month things this month, and I'm having a great time. So yeah, there you go. Look forward to your comments in the comment section below, and as always, thank you for watching.